Okay, so the Lord of the Rings. Okay, well established.
2 words.
That.
You never know where Nick's going with the conversation. He's like, all right, so anyway, okay, so Lord of the Rings.
I don't know where I'm going with it either. I gotta lock it down.
Just gotta lock it down. Yeah.
I gotta slow it down and revisit the brain spaces.
Sometimes rewind, and we hang with every word.
Be kind. Rewind.
There you go. My sister worked at a video rental store, and she was like, literally, like 85%.
Don't do it.
Don't rewind. Isn't that wild?
It is.
That's just so disappointing.
No.
But it says a lot about
Okay.
like the vibration and the frequency of like consciousness in humans currently.
And everybody says it's like 80%. 80% of people who are.
Look, it goes with
It's
the
all the
Hawkins
same.
scale.
This is the only thing we should measure it by. Who rewind the fucking video afterwards?
Yeah, well, the young
Rewound.
kids today never had, videotape, so they don't even fucking know what rewind means.
How old does this mean we actually are? Because let's see, that I feel like it's all happening so fast.
It is.
Because that was what, 90s?
Yeah.
Because we were kids in the 90s. Yeah.
There was somebody that posted something the other day, like our generation, meaning like Jedi Nick and Queen Herby generation. So what we're like mid to late 30s. This is the only generation that experienced the transition from like analog to digital fully. Like our parents didn't grow up with digital. They had it late in life.
Yep.
We like grew up in the transition. We had like the dial-up sound when the internet had to turn on. And
Our grandparents are still trying to find the FaceTime button.
And it wasn't like we just did it for like 10 minutes, like the generation after us. Like we had full years in that mode. And then we have now full years in the digital age.
Well, we like grew up with it. Because we, when we were super young, there was no fucking internet. You had to like go out and run around in the woods and like play with sticks and shit.
Yep.
And to be honest with you,
Oh,
it was fucking great.
There's so many millennial pride videos like
they're gonna
circling the
start
internet where
coming.
they're like, is somebody going to tell this guy? Is somebody going to tell him? And she's like, when we were younger, when we were younger, our parents threw us outside and locked the door.
Yeah. So that's what my dad says.
Come in
Yeah.
the sunset.
Exactly.
Come back for dinner.
And he's like, I don't know how we didn't all just like fucking die, because
Yeah.
they would just run out into the fields and shit and like shoot like fireworks at each other.
Yes.
Shit.
Yep.
They always made it back.
So that was like our blessing for our generation. I guess we are millennials technically, right? We're like late millennials or something.
We're millennials.
We
No,
are
we're
like right in the smack dab in the middle.
Stack millennials.
Yeah,
I just
we're
find
right in
it
the middle.
so fascinating that generations of people like identify in groups, and we like shame each other.
Well, because we like experienced culture together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we're like, oh, you remember the Anchorman?
So don't forget, times are a changing,
And
they always will be.
And doesn't matter because the next generation, do you know what they're called?
Uh-oh.
Generation Alpha.
Shut
they just-
up.
Generation Alpha?
Shut up, Alpha?
No, they're not.
That-
Are they really?
Who's choosing these
who
names?
allows
They're
that?
taking over. It's
It
we're done.
fucking-
Wow, we're
it's-
so
It's in the
fucked.
name.
Yeah.
They are
In the
absolutely
name.
going to take over.
Well, Nick was saying
Genera-
earlier.
What's next? Generation Daddy?
No, it's Alpha and then Beta. They are the next two generations.
Oh,
Oh,
beta.
wow, so
Okay.
betas
Well,
are
nobody
really
wants to be a
like,
beta.
nobody wants to be
yeah.
a-
Just stop having kids, actually. Wow.
Who fucking took over the fucking?
Oh, wait. The next one's going to be gamma then.
Yeah.
Alpha, beta, gamma, right?
Alpha, Beta, Charlie.
Delta?
Alpha,
Oh,
Beta, Charlie.
they're trying to go in.
Yeah, because it's the letters, right?
Yeah. But Generation Alpha sounds like the top.
Well, let me
It
just
does.
say something right now to
You guys
Generation
distracted
Alpha.
me from my original story, but
sorry.
now I'm having way more fun on
We'll
this.
come back to Lord of the Rings in a second.
Oh, yeah.
But the Alpha generation, weren't you just saying earlier, like the biggest issue in the future, our prediction, is distraction.
Yes.
Phone addiction to social media, technology, etc. It's going to be really hard for people to ground themselves and to like know who they are and to have any form of success in the world
Yeah.
when they're just staring at their phones all the time. And then there's like this separation of your identity. You don't know who you are. You don't feel comfortable in social settings. Like these are all skills that we're losing to Generation Alpha, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm a grandma. Maybe I'm just complaining already.
No, it's probably it's probably both.
Yeah.
But no, to be perfectly honest with you, because I think we're also, look, like we were just saying, we were the last generation to even have an experience without this.
Right.
Right.
I mean, my phone.
We were the last one.
Okay, we were
Yeah.
the last one. Everybody growing up, this is so good.
Yep.
The amount of like everything that I fucking do is on this.
Yes.
Entertain, work, call, text,
Communicate.
communicate, anything at all is on this fucking computer
I think
thing.
just to be a renegade next week, I'm going to write my notes on a piece of paper.
Let's do it.
And just because I'm looking at my phone and I'm already angry.
Did you know that I still write in cursive?
What's cursive?
Yes.
What's
I don't know
cursive?
now.
They stopped teaching that.
Does anybody else know what's cursive? Raise your hand.
When I want to waste a lot of time and energy, I'll write in cursive just
it
to
was
make it
supposed
look
to be faster.
really beautiful. It's supposed to be faster because they're connected.
Because you never pick up the pen.
But
it's like grandma writing, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of whoever designed it cursive was not thinking shortcut.
No.
Right? There's simpler as a designer, like my eye for it is like just literally. I had a friend who wrote in all capitals, and I was like, that takes a lot of time, bro. There's a lot of wrong ways to write.
Who was it? DJ Khaled?
No.
So I think DJ Khaled did take over the ministry of naming the next generation because he's like, Generation Alpha.
Totally.
Generation Best.
I could see that. Okay, so
Anyway.
take us back to the Lord of the Rings so we can get into this week's topic.
So
Jeez.
there was the two guys, the two hobbits have a podcast where they just talk about like Lord of the Rings
Okay,
shit.
which two hobbits? You can't just. There's a.
Okay. Well, hold on.
Is it Sean Astin?
Is this a
No.
dad joke?
No,
Elijah
it's-
Wood?
it's like
Is this why you're trying to figure
Is it
out how to
Pippin
tell
and
us?
Mary?
It's Pippin and Mary.
Dominic Monaghan and
And
Billy Boyd.
Yep.
Oh, the actors in real life have a podcast.
Yes.
Okay, cute.
And they were saying how like it's rated PG-13 in the States. So he's like, that's allowed one swear word.
Oh.
And he's like, they were talking about where they would put it. And it was really funny.
Yeah, that is
Nice.
Funny. Yeah, PG-13's 1F, right?
1F, yeah.
Oh.
Gandalf turned around and was like, what the fuck did you do?
Oh, wow. Cute.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Wow,
for the
that
nerds,
really landed.
For the
Fuck you
nerds,
guys.
look, we
Jesus,
are
I'm
a
done
bunch.
here.
We are a bunch of nerds on this podcast. This is your safe space for self-discovery. For Bad Bitchery, I'm your host, Queen Herby. This is Jedi Nick, and this week we are bringing you another juicy topic. Now, I feel like last week we were in the zoom out. We were in the zoom out phase, and it was.
Can I be honest with you? I'm definitely still in the zoom out.
Oh man, we are literally like so burnt out, and
I don't know how or where, but I got attached to shit again.
you got attached to shit. It's sneaky like that.
It is. No, that's how it goes.
And so I think we should start this episode with a really special message from your hosts. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about, okay? But
you can't say that at the beginning.
yeah, but this is juicy
Say
because
that at the end after they've heard it.
this is the juicy good stuff. What we realized is that we need to use this, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I need this podcast as a way through my own challenges. What I'm realizing is like, I'm not here to claim that I know anything. I'm a great student. I'm a great learner. I'm very curious. And so every week I'll bring you something yummy to think about, and we can join together. If you're on our Patreon, we've got a Discord, like we are connecting as a community on these topics. But let's not forget, this is really just a reminder for me. I don't know anything. And so that's why this podcast has been so healing for me. And I'm just grateful to everybody who's been on this journey for that exact reason. I don't feel alone in these challenges, and I love exploring this. And someday, maybe like 100 years from now, when they're listening to Vitamins on like whatever device they listen to music on, they can probably go back and be like, wow, look at this artist, look at her mind, look how her evolution from A to B was so interesting. And we mapped it on House of Herby.
Look at her bowl cut.
Oh, can we talk about the bowl cut?
Oh no, I brought it up.
So this week I'm looking at Alex now because podcast Alice understands me and my haircut changes. So, and you kind of rocking like not a bowl cut, but you definitely have like a line.
The bowl cut and the pineapple were like the big haircuts for my.
Oh
when I
my
was
God,
young.
the pineapple.
These are
Pineapple.
pineapple bangs.
Okay.
So a pineapple is when it's like shaved, but you have bangs still.
Oh.
Oh,
And
incredible.
I would go between the bowl cut and the pineapple. But please
All right.
continue.
So I was
Wow,
looking in
it
the, I was,
seems super punk.
if y'all have not seen my haircut, you know, it's like what is this called? This is the bob, French bob.
Yeah.
The bob.
French
Yeah,
bob.
it's the bob.
It's the bill.
What I realized looking in the mirror the other day is if I just lose a little line of hair right here and just cut these like short, it connects the bangs to the rest and it just becomes a circle.
Oh yeah.
So
Like Target lady.
Yes. Oh, wait.
Who's Target
Lady, Kristen Wiig from SNL.
Oh God, yes.
I keep
It's like
coming
bangs
up.
all the way around your head.
Yes.
Dude.
I just keep.
It's just bangs.
It's bangs all the way around, and I can't unsee it now.
Yeah.
I
gotta
looked
do
at
it, right?
I looked in the
Dude.
mirror. I was like in the mirror the other night, just holding it, and I like squinting and looking at myself, and I was like, "Am I really fucking gonna do this?"
I think
Do it.
maybe try it with a Herby wig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
start-
See how
maybe
it
cut-
goes.
Start with a Herby wig and then also just get a face tat, just to tread lightly.
Oh, that's taking it a step further.
Yeah, just, you know, baby steps.
And I had the joy of hanging out with my friend Blue, who has a beautiful podcast, Deja Blue, if you haven't heard of it. And I showed her a picture of a bowl cut. And I was like, I think I need to go here. And she was like, well, what's preventing you from doing it? And she really had me thinking about it. So
scissors.
Here I am talking it into manifesting it. You know, great.
And I'm going to shave my fucking head.
Yeah. And so we could do a haircut together.
Haircut day?
You're
Yeah.
gonna shave your head for real? Or are you just saying that to say things?
He looks good with a buzz.
I think it's time for a minute. I think it might be time for a switch up.
Bad boy Jedi?
Do you know what I mean?
There it is. Target lady.
How's it shown as a
Exactly. It's
picture?
just a picture of Target.
Okay.
Target lady.
Also, I forget. Okay.
Here, let me show the Patreon.
What was the SNL skit? It was. You can bring it up, right, and just put it on the screen.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. And here it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what was the fucking clip? There was a sketch with her and Maya Rudolph. What's the presenter ladies?
Oh, yeah.
That was really funny. They were like, "You got to get all this chicken. What are you gonna do?" And her voice is really wild, and they are both cracking up the entire time. So it's even
So
more
good.
just like out of control.
It's so good.
Anyway,
But yeah, haircuts together.
So here we are once again transforming and evolving together on this podcast. And what better topic today than, okay, you ready for this? Establishment. Oh, hardly any reaction. This is such a weird word. And I was thinking, like, meditating all day yesterday, like, what the fuck are we going to talk about this week? And I realized that establishment is like the meat inside of a sandwich. So there's actually three things. There's belief, establishment, which is the meat, and then commitment, which is on the other side. These are like the two buns of the sandwich. So belief, establishment, and commitment are things that I feel like I struggle with it. I know y'all struggle with it. I've been reading like the Discord comments and the YouTube comments, and people hit us up on the Instagram. The Instagram's popping off. If you want to follow us on any of these platforms and talk to us, we love reading your stuff. And there's a whole team of us here, like just staying in tune with what everybody's interested in. But what I realized is, this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants to commit to something, but it's like the hardest thing is like figuring out what you want to do and why. And we have so many other episodes that will help you on this track. We'll include those in the show notes this week. If you're like, listen to this and you're like, Queen, I love this. I need to go deeper into my brand identity. And we'll give you the mood boarding episode or the how to find your purpose. That's like one of our most popular episodes, by the way.
what happens after you die?
That's not one we're going to recommend this week, but it's, it's related.
Probably the only one not.
Right. So what is the definition of establishment? It is to make firm or stable. So that's nice. I think everybody likes some stability. To introduce and cause to grow and multiply. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
So I thought about that and I was like, well, literally everybody wants like job security. Everybody wants to feel like they belong somewhere and that they're safe. And what better way to do that than to establish something? And I think what we said about distraction and Generation Alpha or whatever is these people are having trouble establishing and like, well, first of all, believing in themselves or what they want, establishing it, and then committing to that long term.
Establishment is super interesting to me, and it's something that we talk about a lot. And it's something that, starting something from like ground zero and then seeing it through to like then other people recognizing it as a thing. To me, it's always fascinating, like where that breaking point is between like no one knows and then all of a sudden like people know.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And even if we're not talking like globally or on some huge scale, it just even like in that community.
Sure. Well, that's how it starts.
That's how it should start, right? But like having Carmen was a little bit of a different experience because it was more of just like kind of like an explosion, and then it was like, oh fuck. But,
there was a community around us locally.
Yeah, true. But like with Queen Herby, there's been such an interesting because you start at zero and nobody knows fucking who the fuck Queen Herby is.
Right.
It doesn't exist the day before that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, it's people like perceptions and all of these interesting things, especially in music. Everything is such a perception-based thing, right? People, if you hear a bunch of people listening to a song, like jamming to it, it changes your opinion on that song.
Correct.
So seeing people, so anyway, this is like way heightened in music because it's so obvious. But this moment where you go from like, you keep the fucking blinders on and you do your thing long enough, and then every once in a while you come up for air and you can see like, oh, like things have changed. You know what I mean? That tipping point is always, and from like a self-marketing guy too, has always been super interesting.
Yes. And so Queen Herby has existed for 6 years. Okay. So when we're talking about commitment too, there's many times in this journey that we could have given up on this project and we didn't. So I really want to talk about this today because I feel like we are good at this.
Yeah.
Even with this podcast, like there's been times where I'm like, what are we doing? Are we really podcasters? Maybe not, but we are committed to doing something here.
Yeah.
Okay. So this applies to creative living in every sense of the word, because it's not just in your creating a business for your creative art or whatever is your passion. It's also in your relationships. Commitment, like believing in and establishing and committing to a relationship with a person, whether that's romantically or business or friendship or family or whatever, is a whole, this is all applicable to all these things.
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It is. And so if you start a business and you establish a business, you're called a founder, which I was like, well, that's a fun word that people throw around a lot. And being a founder means to be in a successful position over a long period of time. So we're literally, all of this is just talking about time. Like this is the don't give up, don't go crazy.
This is the don't give up, don't go crazy. That's exactly what it is.
That's all it is.
Yes.
So for you to have a sense of like purpose and security in your life, all you have to do is fucking commit and just hang on.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Like we're talking about touring
but
now. We're planning a tour, right? For Queen Herby. And everybody I talk to is like, well, yeah, you do just start small and you grow. And I'm like, really? And I start looking around at other artists that are touring and I'm like, wait, this band, I haven't even heard about them since the 90s, but they kept touring and they're playing bigger rooms than the biggest pop star right now.
Yeah.
And other bands that started and had success at the same time in the 90s did not. And they don't tour. They can't sell tickets.
Yeah.
So it's just another example in nature. Okay. We drove by a cafe today that we love to eat at. And I always complain that this place is always full. And it's like, it's hard to get a parking place. It's hard to get in and get food. It's like, and I was like, why don't they just get a bigger restaurant? Do you know what would happen if they got a bigger restaurant? It would look emptier and people would stop going. So if we all want this, if we all want to commit and believe and commit and establish something, what is holding us back? What holds you back from like falling in love with somebody and trusting a new relationship?
Okay, that I don't know, but it's habits.
I think it's fear. I think it's fear.
To me.
Yeah, trauma.
Okay, yeah, trauma. You mean
It's fear. You don't want to start that company because you're afraid it might not work.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
it might take a long time and you might like get tired of it. Well, the answer is yes, you will.
You will.
And so let's talk
And your
about
relationship with it will change.
Yes, and that happens with new romantic relationships too. There's going to be a grace
It's the
period
same
where you
fucking
feel really
thing.
excited.
You're
and
not
then
always dating and going out till 3 a.m. Eventually, you're like, hey, I'm tired.
Yes.
And maybe let's not get ice cream again.
And we've been together for almost 18 years, and so we know what this means. And I was researching these things, and I was like, holy shit, we are actually naturally comfortable with this and good at it. So I want to share what we've learned so far, and then also with the caveat that we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Well, let me also, it is still uncomfortable.
It is.
We're good at it, but that doesn't mean I guess it slowly becomes less uncomfortable. Anyway, keep going. All I'm saying is it's just a kind of a weird.
You get uncomfortable. You get comfortable with the discomfort.
You start to, yeah.
Everybody listening to this right now, we need your art. I don't know what you're up to or what you're doing, and maybe you're already doing this, and this episode will just be a refresher course for you, especially if you've hit any of these roadblocks or if you feel stuck in any way. But all the research that I read was this whole process, belief, establishment, commitment is required to achieve all major goals.
Yeah.
So if you have a fucking major goal in your life, these things are going to be required.
Yeah.
Number one enemy of this recipe is distraction.
Yeah.
So there was one author that talked about the 4 Ds of establishment. So distraction is the shiny object syndrome, right? Where you can never focus enough on one thing.
One of them's got to be dick.
There's no dick. There is decision. The second one's decision. So this is where you cut off all other options and start focusing. So you go from distraction to decision. These are all on the same spectrum.
Okay.
Then you have discipline.
Yeah.
Right? Which is the required daily activities. These are like little small goals that lead you to the long-term vision. And then the fourth one is devotion. And this is where your literally life changes because you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And you can get through all the tough times.
Yeah.
So we went from distraction to decision to discipline and to devotion. So that's kind of what we're going to skew the scale today and see if we can't help encourage or inspire somebody to just like commit to something. Mm-hmm. Because we need your art. That's what this podcast is about. God damn it.
Yeah. And the flowing of opinion. So that's something like if you are in music or if you are in, whatever, or even like, starting a small business, like what always blew my mind coming up in the music industry is seeing how much people would change their opinion on things.
Ooh, that's the first. We're going to break down all three of these. So belief is the first one.
Okay.
And again, keep in mind, this applies to your interpersonal relationships, building a business, and something as simple as like recording an album. Holy shit. We just finished another body of work and we were like, is it even good? This is where you still like doubt yourself along the way. So
yeah.
So yeah, this episode's about claiming your shit, your authority, and it's basically that belief that becomes manifest over time.
Yeah.
Into this art piece. So like every brush stroke, every single day, and there's days where you're not going to have energy, and like we're going to talk about that. But every brush stroke adds magic and to this art piece for all of us to enjoy. That's why we say we need your art. Because what we're trying to encourage you to do is something that all of us get to enjoy and benefit from.
Yeah.
All right, so belief. I pulled some really fun things from an Instagram creator called Merkaba13. I reposted his video this week, and it was because belief is so funny and nuanced. It really is. He says, stop waiting on people to believe in you. It's great to have support, and you deserve support. But often people won't support you until they see other people supporting you.
Boom.
It's like the cafe that we go to. It's like people really want to go there because it's really busy. It like creates
this is where it gets like, so who's going to be the first?
Yes.
How do you get those first people? The early adapters.
So that's some like trauma that I was storing in my body. It was like, I really was waiting for people to believe in me. Like from my parents to my friends, to my community, to the industry I'm in. And it's like, it is great to have support. Okay. And you deserve it. I'm just repeating this because I need people to really understand. But often people won't support you until they see other people supporting you.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Because we're fucking animals.
How can somebody believe in you if they don't believe in themselves?
Oof.
They don't have enough for you.
Deep cut.
They don't have enough for you.
Yeah.
You're chasing your
It's too real.
dreams. Like you're chasing pretty big dreams, a lot of you. And being successful at that is like takes a lot of risk. You got to take big risks. It's not easy. And these people that you're expecting to support you, they don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
To build your dream. Like it's kind of actually when I looked at it this way, I was like, oh, why would they get it?
Right.
Right. And then what do you do with that? What do you do with that? So a lot of people don't get this and they give up. So that's a tragedy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also, it's like being in cold water. Like in the beginning, you really have to, this is the fuck it stage, I think, man. You have to be willing to fucking be like, no, my opinion is above somebody else's. And, I'm just going to do what the fuck I feel like. I don't care. It sets you free.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways too, because then you're not tied when you're only operating from people's opinions. What's the quote? Like you become their slave. Pretty much. Right. So it's constant. Again, it's external.
Yeah.
It's not internal. And that's where you get the conflict every single fucking time. Because the swing, like one person starts to tell one person about it and they're like, oh, I've never heard of Queen's cookies. What is, I don't know. It sounds, I don't know. I don't want that shit. And then somebody comes over and they bring in, they're like, oh, dude, this fucking Queen's cookies shit is crazy. It's got like 300 milligrams in it. Just kidding. It's really sweet. I love the marshmallows in it. And then you have it and then like, oh, wow, I love this. And then all of a sudden it changed. And when we saw this happen, we've seen this happen twice now in our career.
Yes.
Where, people are like, I don't know, or whatever, to then like literally saying like, oh my God, I love you. And it's like, huh? What do you mean? And like this, it goes.
Where have you been?
Guys, there are so many stories of songwriters and artists and all these people that hit huge songs around for fucking years.
And film ideas and everything.
Scripts and all of these things. And people like don't fucking get it until like one person gets it. And then suddenly they all fucking turn around. Oh, I want that. Or once a song pops on TikTok or once they start to get a following, they're like, oh, I was on that early. And it's like, well, no, you weren't. But now that other people are starting to, it becomes this like, because you have done the time usually, and you have established yourself.
Yes. This reminds me of the first play I ever acted in, which was, I don't even remember the name of it.
I haven't heard of that play.
Tell us you're a stoner without telling us you're, okay, I grew the wheat. I picked the wheat. I made the bread.
Oh, Mother Hen?
Yeah,
what's it called?
I forget.
The bread
chicken.
one. The chicken and the bread.
Something about, one of our listeners is going to get this. The story about the animal that did all the work and made the bread.
And I rolled the bread.
Everybody comes in, they're like, wow, the bread, it smells so good. It's just like a...
Yeah, and she's like, back the fuck off.
So they've been trying to tell us this since we were kids, but it's still something that I hang on to.
Does that, in that story, what is the moral of they say fuck off, right? And they don't get the bread?
I don't know if she says fuck off.
Or
I think
she doesn't share it with them.
She doesn't,
Oh, that's
right?
dope.
Right.
I thought it would be the other way.
Me
where
too.
she does
And, like,
eventually
they help
share.
the next time. And
They
then she
help.
does.
Oh, and then they help next time. Okay, so this is a good example. So, sure,
She established her bread.
boundaries.
You'll starve today, but can eat tomorrow.
Yeah,
Hey.
if you help me make more bread.
Teach a man how to fish.
Yeah. Okay.
For life.
Oh, all right. That's
It's
true.
a really dark version of that joke.
But this is all to say, like, let's just take a moment and feel in our bodies, like, if you're hanging on to this, like, requirement for other people to approve of you or to support you in any way, we are giving you permission today to let that go. I don't know how many layers in the trauma croissant there are, but this is your sign to start letting go of that. Because that need for approval is just holding you back, which again, like this story about the making the bread, it's like everybody's going to want to enjoy your shit. So just know that you're not going to have the support at the beginning, potentially, and you're going to like keep your magic to yourself until everybody, and then when everybody recognizes you're doing amazing things, then you can start requiring things of them.
Yeah. And even if it's not like everybody, even if really what we mean by that is like your niche or your community, you know, whatever it is that you do, like all of your peers in your space, I guess. Yeah. No, it's a total fucking mindfuck, especially for all the creatives and for all the artists, especially today.
Yes.
Because it is, you know, the way that all of culture obviously has changed with the internet, but especially how we consume art and entertainment.
Yeah.
So like, you know, back in the day, there used to be like, you know, if you got signed and you were put on, like it was going to work, you know, they found a way to punch it through because there was only like
6 artists,
6 radio
on
stations
the label.
and fucking like, and again, this is not very long ago. And the kind of that idyllic vision of how that works is like, that's not how it works anymore.
But I will say that once you do commit and establish yourself and believe in yourself and establish and commit.
Yeah.
And people do cut, and all of a sudden, boom, everybody's like on your dick. They do bring the butter. Like now I'm able to sort of like choose, I have many more options of who I get to work with and what I want to go down. But this next level of the video game is not available to you until you start believing. And so this first step is like the universe gave you this vision, not those other people. They don't know. They don't get it.
Yeah.
You know?
And sometimes, guys, it takes a long fucking time
and if you and these
for people to get it.
and sometimes
and that's okay.
Like
that's
if it's
okay.
let's say it's your family that doesn't believe in what you're doing, right? They might actually be holding you to your old vibration too, which is preventing you from getting where you want to go. So that's when we like go into like putting down good boundaries and trying to separate yourself just enough to like give the new you chance to blossom, because you're elevating to a whole new level. And a lot of times they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And it's not like their business, honestly. So this is just I don't know. I had a lot of that to unpack still. Like I still feel angry that we blew up on YouTube in like 2010 or whatever. And everybody was on our dicks and all at once. It was like overwhelming and impossible to like, what do we do with that?
I only got one dick.
Right? And then you're like, does anybody really like is anybody honest? Does anybody actually?
Right. Do they all just care because
yes,
everybody else does?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
So anything can happen at any time for any reason. Your idea is worth it. We need your art, and we need you to believe first in yourself.
Why would anybody else if you don't?
Right.
Right?
Right. And often the people that will support you the most in the early stages are complete strangers. It's so fun, especially with the internet. You can like find your niche and fucking go to town.
Yeah.
Like just let all your old friends and the people that know the old you, like just kind of set boundaries and just let them know you're working on something. And a lot of times it's helpful to not even tell them about it.
Yeah.
Just start building it.
Yeah.
They're going to come on eventually when everybody else does.
Yeah.
There's a chart that I think Malcolm Gladwell made or somebody where it's like, here's the early adapters.
Yep.
And it's like this little line that rises up to like the highest height. And that's like
Goes
the
exponential.
majority.
Yep. Not exponentially yet.
The majority. And
then it's like the phase out phase where it's like total mainstream.
yes.
Where it's kind of like then,
The early,
people,
there's the majority and then
adapters
there's
have
late majority.
Yeah, the early adapters have completely moved on to something else.
Yes,
And you'll see
exactly.
this with music artists all the time. Like once they have these huge, big songs, it's kind of like now the people who originally fucked with it are kind of like, maybe not my thing anymore.
So interesting. And I think we found out that we are like early adapters. There's one right before that that's even earlier.
Ooh,
you and me are
way
like
too early.
you and me are like early but not the earliest.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are like early majority, and late.
There's I should probably read this book again because this is a great book. That Malcolm Gladwell book is called The Tipping Point.
Yes.
God, great read,
This
guys.
is a great one if you're having
boiled it
trouble
down.
understanding this concept.
Yeah, he boiled down to like virality. Is that the term? Or like something, the start of a movement.
Yes.
Boil it down to 150 people. Because he was like doing all this different research on like what's the absolute smallest number I can boil this down to, like so where like a movement or like something comes from.
Yes.
It was 150 people, and if you get like 150 well-positioned people in different social bubbles,
Yes.
and all the shit, and like very passionate, obviously,
Yes.
all like sharing and talking about a thing, like it that's supposedly can help fucking make something go viral or reach
Global.
the tipping point, reach critical mass,
Where
all of a sudden it's just like. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah, that's a great book. And Malcolm Gladwell is such a brilliant storyteller.
So good.
He gives you so many examples of real world shit that he knows about.
Let's get him drunk on here. That'd
Well,
be great.
Right. Why does it always have to be that? It doesn't have to be that. So I recommend if you're struggling with this, dive deep. Like all three of these stages we're covering on the episode today are going to maybe trigger different things in you. So maybe take some notes, like grab some of the books that we're talking about. Or just start examining this in yourself, because I think if we can get y'all, the listeners of this podcast, which are several thousands of you, like that, to get y'all to start and commit to something, that's going to make a dent in the universe for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've actually been moving new people into my rotation. So when we talk about like, oh, now like people don't support you at the beginning, like, and my vision and my goals have pivoted a little bit over the last, I would say like 18 months or 2 years. And so it is helpful to also start inviting new people into your circle, because those new people that are currently strangers could be like the best partners for you going forward. And everybody doesn't have to be your bestie either.
Yeah.
What I realize is like you can have some people in your life that just are there to help you with one thing, and you don't need to be best friends forever.
Yeah.
It's okay to like let go of people. Like I think we all come in for different things. And help each other grow. So some people will be with you through longer segments of the journey, and some people will just move out when it's time.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it just comes down to you at the end of the day, right? It's like you even die alone. You're like, hey, girl, here we are.
It's a very singular experience. Yeah,
It
it can
is.
be very lonely.
Because I find myself like overly attaching to people, and I'm like, yo, it doesn't have to be.
I know. It's
like
easy
that.
to do. It's easy to do.
It doesn't have to be like that. Of course, as independent artists, we've encountered a lot of challenges establishing ourselves without a machine behind us, right? So
it's very, very challenging.
And even if you don't have a label or like a publisher or whatever, whoever is managing your art or distributing your work, or like you have a cookie company and like you have somebody, it's people are on you when you're hot and off you when you're not. So that's just something that there's like a certain, your belief is going to fluctuate over time. And so
Yeah.
that's why we have to move from belief into establishment, because otherwise it's not going to last.
Yeah.
Like social media ebbs and flows are so intense for your own, like believing in yourself. If there's days when you get a lot of views and likes and comments and other days that you don't. So you have to get secure in your why. Why am I doing this? And make sure you're clear on your mission.
Yeah.
And write it fucking down somewhere. Write it down somewhere and always come back to it.
Yeah. No, this is interesting. It's kind of like the motivation episode a little bit.
It is, but it's a bit more gritty, because it's like we're believing in a thing now,
Yeah,
and we're
and
about to
it's-
move into like an actual establishing of a thing.
Yeah. And there were times when, for me personally, like when in our journey, when we do this, you kind of do need to be like reality distortion field positive a little bit. Like, you can literally only see the good things that are happening.
Yeah.
And find whatever little fucking excuses and tidbits you need to like fill up the well of inspiration again, to make you like get those belief sparks again when you're creating or something. It makes you feel like you're actually the best at this shit. Because it follows that, you know what I mean? It doesn't usually, no one's going to come in and be like, you're the next star of Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't happen that way.
Thanks.
You have to go out and do the thing and establish yourself. And it might take not that much time, or it might take a lot of time.
Yeah.
But know that it's like, for us in the beginning, it really is just only pulling from the very positive things. Even if it was very, very minuscule. Because remember when we first started, we were just like, yep, haha, and we would like make it into like a game. You know, we also would say yes 10 times in a row while like moving our hands.
Yeah.
And we would do that every day to try to just cultivate some kind of like positive vibration.
Yeah. We
did that.
Down to try anything.
Yeah.
To
We're like, no, let's fuck it up, man.
keep the clarity and keep the belief and keep the commitment.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what this is about. So we just covered belief. Okay, we're gonna jump into establishment. So this is like the middle. This is the meat of the sandwich. This is like really what I wanted the episode to be about, because establishment is so fascinating. Just the sheer fact that you decide something and then you start doing it on a consistent basis, and you just fucking wait for the rest of the world to get into it.
If you build it, they will come.
Yo, this is alchemy. This is literally like taking something and making it something else.
And I think that's the part of it that I get off on.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. Creating something that wasn't there before.
This is what creators do.
Yeah.
You know, when people are like, I'm a creator, I'm like, cool. What did you make? Mm-hmm. We love making stuff in this house. So you've now claimed your authority. Like, I am going to be the biggest mermaid in Nebraska, right? That's what I'm going to do. And
great zoo.
really all you have left in this meat of the sandwich is time through daily action. You're just going to pay your fucking dues. And I know that sounds like, oh, boring. But it's like, literally, babe, all you have in front of you is time.
Yep.
And at some finite point, you're going to leave this planet and go on to do something even greater, right? But for now, in this body, in this life, you have time. And so every day, you're going to carry the pails. You are going to take daily actions. These are your brush strokes I was talking about, right? Every brush stroke is magical. There's going to be days where you feel like shit and your energy reserves are really low. And so that's why this part of it is really important to organize. So here's like what I do. This is what I like make sure I do every day, because some days I'm not going to have the energy, but I have a to-do list, right? And then what I had to figure out was how to prioritize things, because all of a sudden, sometimes my to-do list is like really long. And I'm like, what is all this shit? I don't need to, like today I was like, let's put a giant mirror installation in the office. I was like, that's not something I need to focus on right now.
Alex.
Get the hammer.
Get the hammer.
Get the mirror glass.
Your priorities of that to-do list are going to be based on what energy you have. Mm-hmm. This is like your this is your insurance for your journey, right? Because trust me, there's going to be days that you feel amazing and you're like, I could do this. I'm
Easy.
committed.
Got it.
And then days when you're like, I can barely get a post together.
Moving to Alaska
for Instagram. Like I can barely do. I don't know what the caption should be. I feel like shit. I need to just lay down on a couch. So when you have these priorities, you've written down all your tasks like on this big list and it's very overwhelming. You have to decide if it's a do, a defer, which is delay, a delegate,
more D's,
or a delete or drop it,
Got it.
Like it's also nice when you're scratching off your to-do list. Like sometimes I might just scratch the mirror installation off my list because it's like not important at all. It's just not important.
It'd be cool.
Especially when your priorities, like another way that is helpful if you're bad at organizing is ABC. So like take that list and like write down the ones that are A, let's like top priority, the ones that are B, a little less important, and C, which are like, we don't need to worry about that at all right now. That'll at least get everything out of your brain and then allow you to see clearly like what needs to happen. We have a dry erase board. We have a chalkboard. I have notes on my phone.
And I feel like I need another dry erase board. I need more dry erase boards.
There's not enough dry erase boards.
Get the Macos.
You can erase it and start over, right?
What?
I got him a dry erase board and he just wrote all these song titles that we're working on. And it hasn't changed at all.
We haven't written the songs yet.
Yeah, a lot of them are done.
Which board are we talking about?
Yeah. And everything's written in cursive.
Yeah.
So it's very confusing.
That's what I'm actually also writing in cursive, doing any of these boards. I'm left-handed. So I would always write and then erase it with my hand.
Behind it?
That was the most.
That's why I told you not to get a dry erase, bro.
I told you not to be left-handed. The most frustrating thing, especially when I was in 4th or 5th grade, because I was fucking trying so hard to fucking kill that shit and I would erase it.
Immediately. So that's my advice for your to-do. So this is like we're now in the meat. We're in the establishment era of our queendom life, and we're doing our to-do list. And it's annoying as fuck. But there's days when you're gonna have a lot of energy and you're gonna blast through that shit. And those days are so amazing. And then literally the next day could be shit. Yeah. So you just need the ABC or the DDDD. Like figure out what your priorities are. And write that shit down somewhere so that you don't have to think. It's just there already. Especially when you go to sleep at night, like get everything out of your head. Yeah. That's huge for this part.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting a new business or something, you're like, shit, I need a logo, I need a website, I need all these things. It can balloon into like anxiety, panic attack.
Totally. And the a big word that we've been talking about forever is sustainability.
Yeah. Because
also blowing your energy out in the first, like if you want to be doing this for years or something.
This is the whole point is we got to do this for a long time.
This is the thing that we do a lot. Like, well, it's like when you see the puppy and you just like, you're like, it's so cute. And you just can't and you just suffocate the puppy because you're just smothering it in love.
Yeah.
It's kind of the similar concept.
You have can do this to your career too.
You can do this to new things that you get into, and it might
new
burn you out of the establishment. You know what I mean? It's like, I constantly have to be reminded of that and take breaks and quit for the day or whatever, because it is, there's the tryhards, and it's like, well, instead of working 8 hours a day, I'm going to work 10 hours a day. Well, a month later, you might fucking hate that shit now, or you might be over it.
Right.
And the game here is years. It's going to take a long time to really. It's roots. It's roots.
Roots before fruits.
Roots before fruit. You got to get the roots before you get the fruit.
That's it.
And the more fucking roots you have, the more you can withstand storms and all this crazy shit because you have this foundation.
Stability, yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have to wait for the storms to pass. Like there are those days when you're low energy, babe, just let it pass. It's okay.
Sometimes
is normal.
You need an umbrella.
Sometimes you umbrella, Ella, A.
B.
So for me, also what's been helpful lately is I'll look at my to-do list and I'll circle the things that actually create growth. Because what I'm looking to establish is my art to a wider audience. So I'm like, okay, what actually establishes growth for me is writing songs, posting content, and that's pretty much it, actually.
Getting naked.
Yeah. So those are the ones that you would want to tackle first and make habits out of. The next thing on my daily actions list of establishing yourself in this new thing is to learn. I do think that as creatives, it's important for us to learn new things.
God, so fucking important, and it's fucking impossible.
If you're not a natural learner, this is not like school, babe. We're not being forced. You get to learn whatever the fuck you want. It could just be like learning something new that has nothing to do with your mission, where you think it has nothing to do with it, but you're going to find that it's going to open up new brain connections for you. So I spend a little time learning every day. I call it YouTube University because it doesn't need to cost any money. You can just jump on there and learn from brilliant people across the globe that have shared their talents for free. Or there's also millions of online classes that are amazing, that are range in price from free to like $20,000. There's so many options now. Learning should be like that's everything.
Dude, you should write an online course about, because this is almost like getting out of being stuck.
It
something.
is.
You can have like a whole spreadsheet of what to do to get out of.
I have no shortage of inspiration and motivation, and
I
have
both
to
that.
admit, there's still days where I have no inspiration or motivation.
Oh yeah, it still happens.
So that's why we're putting these tools in a toolkit, so that when bad days do happen, you're like, oh, don't worry, I have my priorities written down, and then the rest of the day I might be on the couch watching YouTube videos about sewing pants.
Yeah.
You know? The next thing in my sandwich here for establishment is to network. I do think every day, so you hit your to-do list, you did a little bit of learning, and you're going to network with people that are doing what you do. If you don't have like a sense of community, especially if you're doing something so unique, you need to find the other mermaids, right? You got to find them and talk to them, and so that you can feel, even if they don't talk back to you, you're like, just networking in some way or making yourself visible in the community. Mm-hmm. I think that will keep you motivated as well and give you so many new ideas.
Yeah.
And collaboration is like a hack for growth. So if there's somebody out there that is making those crazy cookies that you're making, like maybe do a collab with them, or like find a way to work together on something. Even if it's just like a girls' day and you just make a shit ton of cookies and put the pictures up and they go viral on Pinterest and then both your websites blow up. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
When you mash together creative brilliance, like that's only abundant.
Another big thing, absolutely. No, sorry, keep going.
And then the last one for the day, this is the Queen Herby method that's worked for me so far, is silence. And that just might be me. I don't know. But meditation or like painting, doodling, just like an abstract time for opening yourself to new ideas. And this is when you don't have any productive goal. I think every day you need some time to like sit and do nothing of any that's you think is useful, because you'll be amazed how many new ideas and thoughts come to you.
Yeah, for us, we have to like make each other like leave and like go on little trips and stuff, because every time we do, it just like the idea, as soon as we turn off, the ideas just fucking come rushing in.
Yes.
And it's almost like you've been unconsciously resisting them this whole time. You know what I mean? Because you're so excited about it. You're thinking about it all the time. And it's like, well,
you turn your desperation magnet off for a second and like go to the beach, and I start like building a little city out of sand castles and stuff. Like I literally just shut off.
Yeah.
And then that removes any resistance that you weren't aware of and allows new shit to flow.
Oh, that's great.
So that's like the best to me. It's like, okay, you got your belief, you know what it is you're going after. Now you're establishing by your to-do list, by learning something, by networking with people like that are like you, and then sitting in silence. That's all you have to do.
Yep.
Now do it for 20 years, babe. Right?
No big deal.
That's literally it.
Well, it kind of is. And another thing too, if you like, and this is where all the comparison stuff comes into play. If somebody else, just started and their shit is taken off and yours, maybe is at a different level, whatever.
You better be networking with them and commenting on their thing and figuring out how they did it.
That's not the game here. It doesn't reflect you being a good or bad person or anything
Correct.
like that. This is not things you can take personally, but it's also,
and they're not always going to be up, and you're not always going to be down.
But it's also like
move.
So another big thing about establishment too, like if something happens too fast or too quickly, sometimes that is much a blessing as it is a curse, because there is nothing, there are no roots yet. So it's very easy to get, washed away, blown over. So you don't know what it is yet, maybe. And that was something we've also experienced.
And let's say you did. Let's say you did get a lot of somebody listening had a lot of success just out the blue.
Yeah.
And you were like, Carmen was too.
That's what I mean.
Was too green. We were like, we've been going 18 months already. That was nothing. And we didn't know what it was. We didn't know what it was.
And then versus like, let's say something is taking you a long time, or you feel like it's taking too long. Every time you're putting out a song or a post or an email, whatever it is, like it's a brick in the fucking building.
Yeah, it's a brush stroke on the canvas.
That's what it is. And you really have to look at it that way, because it's just another thing that people can latch on to.
Yeah.
Another thing to fucking build it. And it's also giving you more practice at it.
Yeah.
So that when the time comes, if if and when you want a lot of eyeballs or a lot of attention on your store or your thing, you know how to handle it.
Yeah.
You're ready for it. You're prepared. Now you're comfortable in it. You're sitting in it.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very different experience that way because it feels like it's just like we're saying with Wendy Parr. It's like you're letting it come to you then.
Yeah.
Because you've done it so fucking much. You've done your 10,000 hours. You're like, no, I'm professional at this shit now.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah. No, it's clutch. So now we've believed and now we've established and now we have to commit. It feels like commitment it is kind of riding the whole time. But commitment is the don't give up, don't go crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So marriages, partnerships, everything, like shit evolves. You got to be down for the adventure, down for the journey.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about earlier with like your relationship to it changes. Cause like, think about that. It's like any other relationship. If you were with a single person or something like, the relationship changes. If you're like with family member, relationship changes. You're with your career, your relationship to it is going to change.
My working out at the gym, that's been an interesting one to watch. Still hate
Why?
it. Still hate
Oh,
it.
your
but,
relationship with the gym?
but that's changed too. That's evolving too.
Is it? Great.
And I'm committed to now. This is probably the longest I've ever worked out consistently.
Yeah.
And so,
Congrats.
thank you. So see, I'm still out here learning what commitment is. When I think about the word commitment, I think it's greater than any problem that could arise. To me, commitment is like, no matter what happens, I'm still fucking doing this. And that's like really powerful, right? Nick's just nodding his head. I'm like,
This is a great sound clip. I'm just trying to not
what do you think,
not get in the way.
What do you think commitment means?
That is what you just said.
It's a decision.
It's a decision, and it is like you. How did you phrase it? Because that's correct. It's you put it above
Commitment is
problems
greater than any problem that could arise. Right.
Yeah. So it's a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's closely related to loyalty.
Yeah.
They're cousins or
Yeah.
something.
Totally.
It's a strong feeling of support or allegiance. That's loyalty.
Yeah. So it's like loyalty to your decision.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, more or less.
It's kind of like also cousins with stubborn.
Ooh.
And so if both of us
She's
are
hot.
stubborn, we used
Why
to.
do you always? I am not stubborn at all.
Tauruses are stubborn, they say.
They say.
But if, we've hung in this relationship for 18 years, like, do we even like each other? Or are we just committed?
Sometimes, nope. No, it's like real. It's like, I love you, but I fucking hate you right now.
So,
Punk rock song.
no, this is a really fascinating topic.
Really fascinating.
So in a brand, so let's say you built a company or something, right? Commitment or loyalty is something that people come to trust, right? So if you have a brand that people trust, that's one of the most valuable things you can have.
Very true.
And how did you get there?
Establishment.
By establishing,
Yeah.
believing, establishing,
like-
committing.
Yeah.
You just fucking did it consistently for a long time.
And not to like be a fucking downer, but I think this is what American businesses got away from.
Yeah, they got away from
The
it.
trust.
It used to be.
It used to be like you
There's some left. There's some companies that are still doing it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I totally agree. But like for the most part, it's more like you like immediately
Get rich quick.
get rid of people's trust. But that's what you're doing. You
Yeah.
immediately get rid of their trust, and it's like no, you know what I mean?
That's
like don't.
wild.
All the decisions should be based off of.
Yeah.
that,
A lot of
I
the
guess.
books
Maybe
I've
not.
read, business people books that had companies and sold them, every single one has some form of regret about abandoning
Yeah.
their commitment
The idea of it.
to
yeah.
the community and to the belief.
Yeah.
Because if you sell, and again, I'm not saying this is not a path. I'm happy
No,
and
'cause
applauding
look,
anybody who goes
and
after
there's
this.
no wrong path,
Yeah.
people. I think that's the point of fucking life,
Yeah.
honestly. Like
Right.
if you just go, and either way, you're going to be learning things that are going to alter your insides. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is no wrong decision. I do truly believe that as well.
Yeah. So what do you do if you are having a hard time committing? Like, what is the challenge of commitment is like, how do you actually commit to something
Yeah.
when you're like, wow, I'm really fucking tired of this? Well, we have had advice in the past where we're like, we'll just quit for the day. This is really good advice.
Would you be doing it anyway? Yeah.
Would you be maybe when you wake up tomorrow, you stop the momentum of negativity and you got some rest and your subconscious healed, and you wake up in the morning, how do you feel?
Yeah.
I say, even this is a funny example from like romantic relationships, but do some role play, like freshen it up. Weave some positives into the future vision. Like let's swap back to a company now. So let's say the company's feeling stale and you feel like do something unexpected. Surprise your audience and surprise yourself with something. Try something out of the ordinary. So that's how I think you have to keep it fresh and do unexpected shit when it feels like you've just been grinding on the same. It has to stay fresh.
Well, it's the same with random date night or something. You
Totally.
gotta surprise you with some flowers.
Yes. That really
It's the
moves
same
mountains.
It's the same fucking thing though.
Yeah.
It's just because it's the total dynamic of the relationship is different. It's with a career rather than or an idea rather than a person.
Yeah.
But you still go through the same ebbs and flows. It's still a relationship.
Think about your commitment to yourself. I think the haircuts are this. I think getting a new haircut is like a way for you to revive the commitment to yourself.
Yeah.
By keeping it exciting in the bedroom.
But you change so fast. You personally. You change a lot faster than I do.
So this is interesting. Once you get comfortable with this concept of like changing who you are or changing your company a little bit, tweaking this, trying things in your relationship, and you are still able to stay committed through that, you realize now we're just having fun. That's pretty fun.
It is.
So the excitement reminds you of what I noticed, at least in our relationship, when we try something new, like that excitement reminds us of the deeper commitment that's there. That's always been there.
And the joy of why we're doing it.
So the commitment is really like, it is the roots. Shit. This is the Roots Before Fruits episode.
Shit. You finally got it,
You
Alex.
got it. Let's make a t-shirt.
Get a tattoo on my body.
Yep. That is what I think, like keeping it fresh, or like if you like dress like a nurse, in the bedroom, like it's surprising and different. And then finally, when you're laying in bed with your lover, you're like, oh, this was here the whole time.
Yeah.
That deeper thing that's there is the commitment. So this is worthwhile to do all of these things, I think.
And it's fun. Like there's a deep kind of look. Some people might be like, this is way too much. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I get that. But there's also some kind of deep, this is a terrible analogy, but like a human child. You know what I mean? It's like such a you watch them grow and become this other thing. And it's like, that's a fucking commitment, is it not? But it's like, obviously very different. But it's this thing that you kind of like can watch transform in the world.
Yeah.
And it's really satisfying. It's such a deep like satisfaction that comes from it.
Yeah.
At least for me personally.
I think that is actually a good analogy. And I was thinking having a pet. Like so many people get a dog and they realize like, oh, I can't.
Your relationship with it changes.
This.
Yeah. And it's about like you said, keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
Like, there'll be times where I'll go, I can't not make a great beat. I'll be like, oh, there'll be a couple days in a row. It's just like, fucking everything I know is going to be a great song that you're going to write to. It'll do really well, whatever. And then it'll be like a week or two where every time I go to play something, it's like, this is awful. So bad. Fucking terrible. And I have to find different ways to try to like not beat it over the head to just keep doing that. Because if I just keep doing that, then I'm going to start thinking of it as like, oh, this, whenever I go to sit down at the computer, I'm going to be like, oh, this is going to be not fun.
And this is a good time to maybe go back and listen to the flow state episode, because something to keep fresh. If you're a creative listening to this and you're like, bitch, I have to commit to like doing this for 20 years. I don't know. We like spray different perfumes. We put on a different outfit. We cut our hair. We go to the beach. Like there's so many hacks for keeping it exciting.
Yeah.
Cause like the baseline of this episode is like, hey, like pick what you want to do and fucking do it. And this is the process of that. And so what it looks like. You want to have a great life. You want to feel excited. You want to belong to a community of people, like-minded people. Like this is how you do it. Mm-hmm. This is how we've begun to do it.
Absolutely. And the weird thing that happens, from even like a year ago, still like, there were a bunch of people who knew who Queen Herby was, but there were, a lot more that didn't. And then something over the last year, 6 months, all of a sudden, like people know, you know what I mean? There's like this weird, it's fascinating. It's like almost like like, crossing that chasm of like you flipping a light switch on or off. Like it almost feels like that. And people are just suddenly, like you're saying, just kind of like gravitating towards your orbit. Mm-hmm. And it takes a long time and trust to establish that thing. If you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams, one of the greatest fucking sports movies ever made.
Yeah.
It's that concept.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating to me. Read those Malcolm Gladwell books, do all those things, because like just something about keeping the blinders on and continuing.
Yeah.
You don't know what kind of magic that can create.
Yeah. And pay attention to who, like that networking piece from my last discussion in this podcast, like the networking piece. For so long, I was like, oh man, it's just like really a lot of queer people like really support me. It's like, oh, like the Black community like really embraces this or whatever. Or now I'm like, oh, the spiritual community is like really picking up on my shit. It's like sometimes you can't even see it, for what it is. So pay attention to who's embracing you and do more of that, because your art is meaning the most to them. And that groundswell that Malcolm Gladwell talks about with 150 people starting a movement, like that could be coming from a community that you don't even belong to yet.
Yeah.
Or you think you don't.
Surprise.
Yeah. So that's been funny because yes, people like know who Queen Herby is now, like will go out, but especially in like a queer space or like a spiritual space, that like that's when I get noticed.
Oh yeah, totally.
But
it took a while. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're indie.
Because I didn't start like day one Queen Herby, like, all right, we're gonna target this, and this. It's like you don't know.
You just started, yeah.
And until you have your family around you and your tribe and you're vibing, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that stuff too. It takes a lot of self-analysis at times. Finally, on the level of commitment, if you're finding it hard to stay committed, ask yourself what's holding you back. This is a really important piece. It's like, if you don't want to commit to something, is it possible that that's not what you actually want? Is it maybe like people's opinions telling you that's what you should want? And you're like, I can't commit to this, queen. It's like, you don't even like painting. Maybe you don't even like pottery. Like maybe you want to be a wig designer. Like you should really, do. This is where we're going to recommend some other episodes. Find Your Purpose. That's a great one. One of our episodes, How to Start. The mood boarding episode for those of you trying to put together a more clear brand identity, and imposter syndrome. Those episodes are really going to help you at least like hover around what it is that you actually want. Because other people's opinions can kind of get in the way. And if you're feeling resistance to committing to your dream, you deserve better than that. And so maybe ask yourself what it is holding you back and see if you can release resistance to success. That's something I've been doing this week, and I really feel like it's making a difference, because I realized I wasn't really holding on to negative things now. I was literally just holding on to like a block to my joy. Like I was like, well, why am I resisting feeling happy? Why am I resisting being more creative?
Yeah.
Because I still don't feel like this is a real job, or I have all these
I don't have the bowl cut yet.
Limiting beliefs. Like the bowl cut. That's why my friend was like, what's holding you back from getting this haircut? And I was like, you're right. Nothing.
Let's go right now.
God damn it. Yeah. So
it's true.
If you realize, but if you realize for some reason your dream or where you're headed is not sustainable, you got to get out and move on. So that's kind of my last piece of advice on the commitment.
And it's all okay. Like I can't stress that enough. Like
you can't make the wrong choice.
Try to not be too stressed about it.
Yeah.
It's like especially if you're young, like it does take a long time for you to. It's easier when you start to get age and start to understand who you are from life experience. A lot of these, paths become more obvious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything you do leads to another great new chapter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I totally.
You can't make the wrong choice.
I subscribe to that 100%.
It's impossible to make the wrong choice. I know sometimes it feels like the world tells us you made the wrong choice, sis.
It definitely feels like that a lot of the time. Trust
you
me.
literally can't.
Yeah.
So just go. That's all I have to say about that.
That was really fun.
Yeah,
it was a great episode.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
I also love your eyeshadow.
Oh, thank you.
Is that the one you made or no?
No, I did not make this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's been making shit lately.
But I've been enjoying like learning about color theory, and me, I'm always exploring new things. But I hope this motivated some of you to really go for it. And if you're still questioning your why, look, I don't even know my why some days. That's why I had to write it down and look at it often. Because
it's also, you know what it is? It's like continue.
Yeah.
If it's not just to start something, it's like you're on year 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. continue. This is a fascinating one. We could probably touch on this every week because this is great. And I have to pee really bad. But I love you all.
All right. We love y'all so much. Keep going. We need your art. This is your favorite podcast, House of Herby, signing off. We'll see you soon.